Hey Bison fans, add a little green in your wallet with the SDSU debit card from Gate City Bank. For every card ordered, Gate City Bank donates $10 to SDSU. Get your Gate City Bank Bison debit card today at gatecity.bank/bison or instantly at any location. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC.
Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra.
And welcome everybody to the Bison Media Zone for 2024 here on WDAY Extra. Happy New Year to our guy Jeff Kolpak. I'm Dom Izzo. Despite football season being done, we're doing this all 52 weeks of the year. And as Kolpak and I always joke about, football season really never ends, especially now in the Division I era.
Have you gotten used to writing 2024?
No.
Because at work I have not. I still have my slug lines. I put 23 today. I went, oh.
24.
Yeah.
Now, you did write a story yesterday, speaking with the head football coach and Tim Polisek, because today is a big day, Jeff, because the portal officially closed yesterday.
For most players.
Right. Outside if you're not a graduate transfer, you can still transfer there. And North Dakota State, by my mark, has 7 guys in the portal. That's not the number, first off, I thought would be, and certainly not the players I thought would be. Let's start with that, because I would have lost a ton of money if you would have told me the Bison are going to return the guys that they're going to return this year.
Well, I don't think you can really rest easy yet. There's still a stipulation if there's a coaching change that you can have some extra days to make your decision. I'm not sure exactly if there's a deadline for that for NDSU. But I think they're over the critical period of losing guys, and I think that's a big deal. With this coaching change, you got to remember, in 2013, there was some tense moments with Craig Bowl and his staff. 2018, half the staff left with Kleiman. Not as tense, but there was still anarchy. And this is before the transfer portal. So now you add the transfer portal into Tim Polisek being named. You have signing day and all that. And I don't think you can ask for a better result as of this moment.
Right.
I mean, you're always cautious a little bit on things happening.
Now, there is a second window. That's April 16th through the 30th. So, again, I guess we caution Bison fans that after spring football, that's probably the full teller of what you're going to know. But if you're going to go, you would have gone, right, Jeff?
100%. If you're an impact player and you wanted to go, you have to be enrolled in second semester. And that's one thing I think people forget about. This is not pro free agency
There's
here.
an academic
I know it seems like it, but there is an academic part. You have to be accepted into school, Dom. You have to enroll. You have to go to class still in these things. And so I think that's a reason NDSU starts spring football next week. They start school next week, the school does. And so I think if things were to be wrapped up or if you had to make a decision, it has to be done by now if you want to make impact
and
next year.
that's why I thought Friday was such a critical date, and that's when we got the news on the 2 biggest returners in my mind, in Cole Wisniewski and GRIZ Zabel. Pair that with the Mostaerts twins coming back, that's a heck of a starting ground for the 2024 roster.
Saw one of the Mostaerts at Hornbacher's grocery store yesterday, so I thought, hey, that's a pretty good sign. I think he's here. And but all indications were that they were going to come back. I think it was a matter for Eli more than Will that if he was going to come back and play. But I think with Wisniewski right there coming back, and let's call it like it is, the Green and Gold Collective made a difference. We don't know how much, but it made some sort of difference where these players have said, okay, we're coming back because this is mitigating some financial loss somewhere else, I guess. I don't know how to phrase it, but GRIZ Zabel's another one who was wooed by some FBS schools. And I think more than anything, I don't know if you're going to see that so much in the future, and Mike McFeely wrote a good column. These players are going to leave. These guys that are wooed by FBS
are going to go.
But it's the guys who go into the portal who have nothing on the other side. And just say, okay, you're getting something here. If you want to go into the portal, good luck. Because we've seen several examples now of Bison players going into the portal and not getting nearly what they thought. No, you're not a Power 5 player.
Or a destination of where they thought, right?
How many snaps did Courtney Eubanks get this year?
He played a little bit more at the end, but he would have not left the field.
No.
Or Dom Jones would have left the field if they stayed. at North Dakota State. Jake Kubas tweeted this out about Gray Zabel. If people knew the number he's turning down, most would think he's crazy, but you can't put a price on relationships and the best culture in the country. I want to focus on that first part. Knew the number he's turning down. That's the part, Coltbag, I think, and I had Cole Wisniewski here in studio yesterday, that it's not make-believe. This is real six-figure offers from highly recognizable schools about what Wisniewski and Zabel decided to turn down.
Well, I guess in theory they're six figures. If they were to follow through on that, that's another deal. They probably would.
I would
these
imagine
schools,
so.
Because,
yep.
When Rory McIlroy turned down Live Golf, he said, every time I do something just for the money, it never really turns out like I think it is. And I don't know if this is the case. I mean, if you're talking, $300,000-$400,000, and I don't know, maybe money's not the biggest deal in the world for kids.
And I think it's different for Wisniewski.
He's got his brother
and
here.
Zabel, you're exactly right. Jet Zabel's coming in next season. I think that's a huge underlying tone to this. Wisniewski, I think, he's been open about this since December. I think he said there has to be a financial component of this to make sense for me to stay. And I think Jay Bartley's group certainly made a compelling argument to at least get the door open on that.
Well, let's go back to the Green and the Gold Collective, and more than that, let's go back to the Bison fan base, who now recognizes that. And I've run into some boosters I know. They go, I really don't want to contribute to the collective, but if this is the way it is, and if this is the way you need to win games, then I guess so be it, and here we go. And I go back to the 1960s when Teammakers Booster Club was formed, and actually the 50s, but in the 60s, some people said, you know what, if it takes money, and this is 1963 and 4, if it takes money for this program to win and stop decades of losing, of which NDSU was back then, the North Dakota AC, then so be it. Here's your money. Here's your cash.
Here's the dilemma, I think, for boosters like that. Do they still contribute to Teammakers and the
Well, you're going to have to.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, you're going to have to. And Teammakers, I mean, that's the funding mechanism for scholarships.
Right.
Scholarships they don't grow on a tree here. I mean, they're literally hard dollars that the Teammakers works all year to raise, in the tone of like $5 to $6 million a year now. It was $700,000 before Division I. It's really amazing. Like for so many years. Now around $5-6 million. That has to stay.
Yep.
I mean, it does.
We've talked about this for the better part of 2 years. The Bison were behind the 8 ball on this. They needed to get the collective going. Now it's here. It's not going to keep every highlight player. It's just not. But if it's able to stem the tide a bit, that's a huge piece that now you look at the 2024 team and say, Jeff, they're a national title contender with these guys that are going to be back.
Well, didn't we ask Jay Bartley over the holiday, who's the head of the Green and Gold Collective, if the collective was here last year with Dom Jones, Courtney Eubanks, and guys like Kobe Johnson, would they still be here? And his answer was a collective yes on that.
Yeah, no hesitation on that. And that's the biggest part. And that goes back to your previous point. Those guys went in the portal hoping for FBS destination, not knowing one.
Well, you got people telling them they're better than what they are, and then you get this groupthink going where, okay, you have a household full of guys, 4 of them, and they, let's go. I'm going too. You go too. I'm.
The groupthink gets going there. Yep.
And running back Dom Ganella ended up as walk-on and a special teams player at South Florida. So it was a South Florida, and so it just I think will stem that tide. If you can just stem that tide and keep guys from 7-8 guys and guys, frankly, Marquis Siegel got better.
Yes.
He got something better, and that's an example where the portal and God bless him at Kansas State.
It worked out.
It worked out fine. But for every Marquis Siegel, there are 4 or 5 other guys where it doesn't work out.
Let me end this with this point. After the Bison playoff run, the hiring of Polisic, now the return of there's a buzz with Bison football that I don't think has been there over the last. You get that? I have over the holidays. I've had more people say, "Boy, I'm excited about what's going to happen with 2024." I got that sense over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I don't know what Tim Polisic asked for under his Christmas tree, but I think he got it. He got a retention of most of his recruits. The others went FBS. I mean, you're going to lose that. He got the retention of all the key players he needed. His staff seems to be pretty sound and set to go. And made one change at defensive coordinator. And so at this point, give Tim Polisic a lot of credit because what he needed to happen so far has happened.
And that's why I think NDSU, when you come Monday, after the championship game, and you've got SDSU 1, Montana 2, the Bison are a could be at 2 or 3 for the preseason poll for 2024.
Well, as things stand now, yeah, I think what you see coming back, the 2 quarterbacks, we haven't even mentioned that.
I know it.
Cam Miller and Cole Payton,
yep.
I think were 2 very marketable quarterbacks. Yes. But how many quarterbacks are in the portal?
Oh.
I mean, there's so many. The kid from Furman went in.
Tyler Huff.
And
yep.
Does he have anything?
Nothing as of yet.
He gave up a starting job,
Yep.
scholarship, I'm assuming,
Not
this
a cheap
and
scholarship
that.
either at Furman either. So.
And to throw your name in there and he hasn't committed anywhere. I mean, how many guys are you got to see to do that? Man, come on, dudes. I mean, you are not a 4 or 5 star quarterback at Alabama looking for something else. You are the starting quarterback at Furman.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
I mean you're not the greatest, but I'd be curious to see the Poffenberger kid. Has he landed anywhere?
No. This is the dad coming out of him, by the way, of giving out the scholarship. I
Yeah.
can tell you already.
I've said that before. I told my son if he was at Duluth and you went in the portal, you better have what you're making there on the other side, or good luck.
Or you're not going.
Or you're not going.
Staying where you're at. Speaking of which, there is a game on Sunday with South Dakota State and Montana. The Jacks, as I just looked in Vegas, are a 12.5-point favorite. In your mind, what does Montana, how much do they need to go right for them to win this?
Well, everything. Yeah. I mean, everything. I just, you look at South Dakota State and how powerful they were. They are the 2019 Bison, 13 Bison, 18 Bison, you name it. And they've been relatively healthy this year. I don't think they've been hurt over the holiday.
Nope.
They got the star quarterback who, if he stays at South Dakota State, will be the most amazing story ever. You got an NFL running back in Davis. You got guys like this. I mean, just so many playmakers. Boy, this is their year. We've seen Montana. They're good, but they had everything go right against the Bison at home. They actually only scored twice against the Bison defense.
I am really interested because the portal window is longer for teams in the championship game.
Right.
We saw that last year with NDSU.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go right to it. If Mark Gronowski has 2 years of eligibility, he can go wherever. I would be stunned if he's back in Brookings next season. I really would be.
Yeah, and especially
what else do you have to do?
All the mediocre quarterbacks we've seen in the portal right now, and
he's really good.
He is good. He's got all the intangibles, including the leadership ability. Yeah. Does the University of Illinois have a quarterback? He's from Illinois. He's a Big Ten guy.
How about right next door? Iowa doesn't have a quarterback. Their offense was historically bad. If I'm Kirk Ferentz, right?
How much?
Exactly right.
What do you need, Mr. Gronowski?
$2 million, and yes. I'll be there. I'll be there tomorrow. That's all you need. I would be stunned on that. I think also, just to keep an eye on this, we talked about this with Sam Herder. This is probably the last time that's going to be paired up, the championship game, with the FBS championship game, with it going to a later date. I'd be intrigued what the committee does with that, if they move it back in December, if they put it closer to where the playoffs are.
Would you rather have it in December on a Saturday than a Sunday in January?
I would probably.
Sunday.
But the NFL is everywhere. You're not going to avoid the NFL anymore. It's just a matter of, would you like some time off? I think they would. Just, you don't want to run against Christmas. That's the
no, I think you got to stick with what it's at. I think your ratings are going to be your ratings at FCS title game, whether you're going head-to-head with NFL or whoever. I would like this. It's been so successful in Frisco.
I don't think it's leaving Frisco.
No.
I don't know if they're going to stick to Sunday. That's the thing I'd be intrigued about.
Saturday, just give me a Saturday in Frisco, early January.
When we come back, speaking of schedules, the next 2 years for the Valley are out. We'll discuss that. And Bison Hoops with a biggie tonight against Montana. Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra rolls on. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Bison Media Zone wrapping up here on this Wednesday. I'm going to have Kolpak roll his eyes at me already because he loves to talk about schedules. But the Valley put out, right before the holiday, the schedules have been signed off for 2025 and 26. We can blame Western Illinois for them leaving. That screwed everything up. But 25 is intriguing. That's another 12-game season, much like next season. And you'll see at the bottom part of the Bison column, Jeff, that it's empty because NDSU's ending that year with St. Thomas. They're going to play all their league games in a row and then end with a non-conference game, which has not happened in the Division I era.
Interesting. Yeah. Would you want to buy there, maybe?
They didn't want to do that because they didn't want to have, if they were a seed, have 3 weeks off before you play a football game is what I was told. But the intriguing part of the point of bringing this up is that they finally have broken up UND and SDSU. So the Bison are going to have to go to Grand Forks 2 years running in 25 and 26. But the payoff is that those are not on the same home schedule like they were this coming year and like they were a couple years ago.
Yeah, I guess what comes around goes around. NDSU hosted UND 2 years in a row, too.
Right.
I think one was a non-conference,
Yep.
but still. It's scheduling is, I mean, you can delve into it all you want, Dom. I'll just trust you on what you think about. You told Richmond you weren't going to ask him about scheduling.
About basketball scheduling.
And you asked him like 2 questions right after that.
I will say, because if you looked at the 2023 home schedule, Jeff, we talked about how bad it was.
It was horrible.
It was North Dakota and South Dakota State were both on the road. So now, at least in 25 and beyond, they're broken up. At least you'll get one of those teams at home going forward.
Well, and that's smart because
Yes.
when it comes down to it, the schedule this year, I don't know how you sell that, but next year you got UND, you got
And
home-
SDSU.
yeah,
Right. That's easy to
Northern
sell.
Iowa cannot go off the schedule ever
And
again.
unfortunately,
either.
they are.
Yes.
The Panthers are rotating off after this season. The Bison will not play them after that. And that's a travesty. I'm right with you. Like playing Indiana State and Youngstown every year, that
Right.
doesn't make any sense to me. Bison Hoops are back at home tonight. It's the first part of the Big Sky Summit League Challenge, which I think is a cool idea that the league is doing. NDSU's lost 3 in a row. Lost their opener to South Dakota. You can't say it's a big game because it's not a conference game, but you want to get some positive momentum here, Jeff, for the Bison men.
Well, I got the Summit League standings right
Yep.
here. Boy, what a whole lot of average we're looking at right now. You got St. Thomas at 10-5, but strength of schedule. Everything 7-7, 9-6, 8-7, 7-8, 6-7, 6-9, 8-7, 7-7. I mean, that is a whole lot of
Yep.
average. And I looked through all the wins here. I couldn't find any
they're-
quality
you're
wins by
exactly right.
anybody.
Yep.
Like nobody.
Correct.
I scratched my head. Maybe NDSU beating a bit. These MAC teams are in Western Michigan.
The Bison win over Western Michigan and over Montana is probably 2 of the highlight wins for the league.
Even
it really was.
Oral Roberts, which usually registers some sort of major win during non-conference, didn't come close this year. It is wide open when it comes March. And you're right. Tonight, I know it's not a big game, but it is a big game because they've lost 3 in a row, all by similar scores, by the way. 75-65, 76-63, 75-66. Those and Dave Richmond told our Andrew Hauglin after the last game, the loss to South Dakota, that we need to shake things up. And he volunteered that information on you that you might see a different lineup today. I'm curious to see. Okay, what changes are you making? Are you going to? Are some veterans going to come off the bench? Are you looking at younger players? What's going? I am looking forward to this game for that more than anything. And what did he tell you? He goes, you just can't keep throwing the same thing out there.
Definition of insanity. And that's what they've done. And clearly it has not worked. So I would anticipate if you're going to the game or watching here tonight on Extra, you're going to see a different looking Bison basketball crew out there.
And it's going to start right away. I'm curious to see the first half, the rotation. I mean, all those things are and it's just, by the way, it's Ainan Mooney and Bowden Skunberg, 2 players that played together. Ainan's in his
Mooney in his 7th year.
Is it 7th?
7th year of. I remember talking to him when he was coming out of Dickinson. He went to UND, then he went to Southern Utah. Now he's at Montana. He's been at 3 separate schools here. That is the life
good
of
for
those
him.
who
Play
won.
the game, right? Play as long as you can.
He's got a chance to keep doing it, and he will be jacking 3s. That's on in Moody's game. He'll be doing that coming up tonight. The Bison women are in Bozeman to take on Montana State. Jory Collins' team got a nice road win to start off league play against South Dakota. I'm intrigued to see because on the women's side, I think it's wide open as well because the Jacks are not what they have been over the last 4 or 5
certainly
years.
South Dakota isn't what they were at one time because the Bison went down there. Great road win to start the season. Now we'll see if they can capitalize on it. I think tonight at Montana State's a winnable game. It's I'm curious to see the talent. It's been a strange year with football and the fact that Bison women have hardly been at home. I haven't seen them play, Dom.
They've had 4 games at home.
I've not seen them play.
So they have a chance on Saturday. They'll be home against Northern Arizona for their game in the Big Sky Summit Challenge. Don't forget, of course, we've got tonight Bison men's basketball against Montana. Our coverage begins at 7 o'clock on WDAY Extra as the Bison will play this game. Then they'll head to Eastern Washington as part of the Big Sky Summit Challenge. We're hoping for a tie in it because that means Fenton and Wistersill will have to arm wrestle to determine the league champ.
Wow,
that's pretty good, right?
I guess.
If we can live stream that, that'd be all right. So that's coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. We look forward to that. Thanks to Jeff Kolpak for coming by. Our Bison Media Zone is back next Wednesday. You can see it here at 10:30 on WDAY Extra. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week. And don't forget tonight, Bison Hoops with Montana, 7 o'clock at the Shack. We'll see you then and next week.
How can you spot a true Bison fan? They have an exclusive Bison debit card from Gate City Bank in their wallet. Plus, they know that for every card ordered, Gate City Bank donates $10 to NDSU. Show your spirit with your own Bison card today at gatecity.bank/Bison or instantly at any location. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC.